Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the University of Ulster's Magee campus this afternoon. So, to start our proceedings, I'd like to invite the Lord Mayor of Derry, Martin Neely, to come and say a few words to us. I know the Mayor has a very busy schedule. I think he's on a bike ride later on, but I know he has to rush on to another engagement. But, Lord Mayor, if you'd kindly come and say a few words. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been great for the city to have this interaction between students from America and people here and learning from each other.
The HECUA programme is a highly regarded and valued programme within the Faculty of Social Sciences, and it reflects our commitment to the teaching and learning of applied peace and conflict studies. The HECUA programme offers students rigorous and critical study that is firmly and deeply connected to real-world contexts. In so doing, we like to think it equips our students not only to learn about, but also to engage with critically important matters relating to peace and social justice. And in this sense, the HECUA programme is a highly regarded model for equipping students with much needed skills and confidence that will enable them to connect their studies with future academic and professional pursuits. Additionally, the HECUA programme also represents a very successful model for which the Faculty of Social Sciences has built and developed sustainable educational partners, both internationally and locally. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank HECUA for their continued support, and also to thank our community partners who are essential to the unique quality of this programme. I know you're going to hear more about our valued partners as the afternoon unfolds. But at this juncture, what I'd like to do, it's my great pleasure to invite my colleague, Dr. O'Connor Bones from the School of Education, to share something with you of the origins of Ulster's HECUA programme.
What I really want to do this afternoon is just pass on a few messages in terms of our own experience and our own memories of the HECUA programme, which originated within the UNESCO Centre. First of all, very many congratulations to the current participants who we hope have had a very rich experience during their time this year. One of the reasons why the HECUA programme receives such positive evaluations from the students is the model of learning that it represents. It's a programme that very much develops deep engagement through experiential learning, intellectual and emotional, so it engages the head as well as the heart. And for that reason, students have consistently commented on the depth of learning that has been made possible, not least through the partnerships with the community organisations that where they do their placement, but also the friendships that have been formed as part of that working experience. So we very much hope that you will carry home with you some of that learning and take it into your future careers. Secondly, as everyone knows, the success of the programme really has been down to the directors who have overseen it over the past 10 years or so. Lorraine McGill was the co-founder of the programme, and I know some of you have already seen the video that Lorraine sent up as an endorsement of the programme, and she is now Director of International Student Learning and Exchange Programmes in Galway. And Lorraine ran the programme for 3 years and then very successfully passed the baton on to my colleague Roisin McAvoy, who further developed the programme and is now working within our international office with responsibility for student programmes. Nigel, as we know, has been the director of the programme for the past 7 years or so. And as the students will know, Nigel is a very skilled educator with a very deep insight and commitment to the programme. And having worked closely with Nigel, being along the corridor from him over the past 7 years until he moved to INCORE, I can say firsthand that I know how much he gives to the programme and that he has been on call 24/7 and has consistently provided patience, encouragement, support, the odd drop in the knuckles when it was needed, I would say, but you know, we were all students once, so it goes with the territory. But he has been consistently there to provide support in what is a very demanding programme. And finally, the UNESCO Centre is very grateful for the partnership we have had with HECUA over the past number of years, and their commitment to this form of learning has been very, very much appreciated. I think it's fitting that the programme continues in partnership with INCORE given the university's commitment to developing international programs for US students on the Magee campus. I wish them every success and many more years of partnership between the university and Ulster institutions through the HECUA programme. And best of luck for the rest of the event today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jenny Kaiser, and I'm the Executive Director of HECUA, and I have the tremendous privilege to be celebrating with all of you this remarkable partnership between HECUA and the University of Ulster. From the beginning, it's been a truly shared endeavor to better understand and really live out the deep work of peace and reconciliation in both of our countries. I stood this morning on the Peace Bridge in Derry in the rain and thought about this confluence of events and people and places. And of course, none of us stands here alone, and I was very much indebted to all of you in this room and all of you who have helped this program along in various ways. Like Una, I must really thank and greet you on behalf of this wider HECUA community. So I'm bringing greetings and appreciation from the HECUA board and staff, from our 17 different colleges and universities that are part of our consortium. Also, I bring greetings from around the world where HECUA runs other programs very similar to the Northern Ireland program. So I bring you greetings from Norway, from Ecuador, from Bangladesh, from New Zealand, and from places all over the United States and beyond. Again, special thanks to our long-standing colleagues and really friends at the UNESCO Centre, and to our new colleagues and allies at INCORE. HECUA has been fortunate to find not just one, but two homes within the University of Ulster. That's very rare. Clearly it speaks to the university's deep commitment to community and university partnerships and collaboration, and to a real confluence of our values, and certainly the generosity and integrity of so many other people. My sincere thanks to the Pro Vice Chancellor Anne Moran and to Dean Paul Carmichael for providing the absolutely critical institutional support. This work doesn't happen within a large institution unless there's great allies and supporters, and I thank them for that. It's made us possible to grow the HECUA partnership. One thing today that I'm really proud to share with all of you is that in the year to come, we'll be offering the program not just in the spring, but in the fall semester. And this has been a long-held goal of the HECUA community, to be able to have twice the number of students coming to Derry now to study the important issues of peace and conflict transformation and what's to come, building a shared society. So even more US students will be coming next year, and that's a huge endeavor. I want to also thank the U.S. General Counsel, Gregory Burton, and the consulate staff. Providing for the care and tending of U.S. students when they're abroad is a thankless task and often an invisible one, but we see it at HECUA, and we couldn't do our work without the consulate. I guess I'm especially thankful to see so many internship supervisors who are with us today. You've welcomed our students into your organizations to learn and be inspired by your own work, to build really an interdependent, a pluralistic society. Much like in the US, I'm sure the nonprofit and community sector in Northern Ireland is under a lot of pressure, under increasing pressure of all kinds. The fact that you are still opening up your institutions and welcoming these students who come from far away and providing such rich and rewarding learning experiences is a huge gift to me and to everyone at HECUA. Special greetings to the students from home. Soon you will be home, and we're proud to count you among the 171 students from 24 different colleges and universities that have studied on this program since it began in 2002. And of course, a special thank you to my colleague in arms, Program Director Nigel Glenny. He's led the program with such care and thoughtfulness and intelligence for the past 7 years, and it's delightful to be continuing that work with him. Una has already pointed out our great friends from who've led the program before, so again I wanted to thank Rasheen, who's here today. I also want to thank Derek Wilson, who was my colleague for many years at UNESCO, and the program grew a lot in that period as well as the growth we're seeing now at INCORE. I've been asked to say something very briefly about why this partnership and why the program is so important to HECUA and to the United States, and to students who come here from the United States. So I would just say very briefly that HECUA is this consortium of colleges and universities who really have come together for one thing and one thing only, and that is to educate for social justice, and to try to figure out what exactly we mean by that, how to practice it, and how to unpack it, and how to live it. We have done that solely by working with communities that are willing to invite us to be received as we've been received in Northern Ireland. And the work is interdisciplinary, it's experiential, it's always rooted in the places where we are and the issues and the people that are dealing with those issues. HECUA was born out of the tumultuous 1960s in the United States, if you know that era at all, especially after the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. It was a time of great conflict and upheaval and confusion, and higher education institutions were asking, this ought to be a time in which higher education is helping to overcome and heal and to find solutions and new possibilities. And so HECUA stood up and said, we will be part of that work. So I think it becomes apparent that we have an incredible connection with Northern Ireland. Actually, two HECUA faculty came in 1999. I think this is the other origin story, and saw that there was great possibility and imagination happening in Northern Ireland, and saw right away the consonance of what HECUA is doing in educating for social justice and the incredible community and academic endeavors that were going forward in the late 90s. The first group of students arrived in 2002, and from very beginning the proposition was United States students were not being invited to Northern Ireland to learn from a distance or to learn from a textbook, but to be learning with and among the people of Northern Ireland. We've never wavered from that in the 12 years we've run the program. More importantly, those students were to find their own places and their own positions in facing conflict and creating change, and to go back and make profound changes. So this is a very transformative experience. It's really unlike other study away opportunities that US students go on when they go abroad. I mentioned we have this wonderful cohort now of 161 students from 24 institutions. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how they came to be on this program. The US institutions that support students believe this work is so important and so essential to learning that they grant them full academic credit from their own institutions. Many students receive financial assistance of some kind from their institutions, many more from their families. Every student on the program has planned carefully and has saved to come for this experience. So it has been accumulation of a lot of thought and work on their part. So when they're coming open-heartedly, and they're coming with a sense of purpose. They also represent a really fascinating range of disciplines. As you might expect, many students do come from conflict studies and from sociology and from political science and from international relations, but many more come from history or urban studies or American studies. There have been students from geography, religious studies, psychology, youth studies, child and family development, biology, music, literature and art, cultural studies, women's studies, criminal justice, social work, communications and journalism, global studies, economics, philosophy, mathematics, and yes, even business. So this is a huge notion that students can come together from very different disciplines, very different interests and backgrounds, and form a learning community in which they can learn together. Program director Nigel Glenny leads them carefully and intelligently through this facilitated process of moving from a fascination with conflict itself, moving beyond that to understanding the deep work of peace and reconciliation and what comes after that as well. In that process, they develop skills and practices and values of democratic citizenship, and they bring that learning back to their campuses, and they help their friends and their colleagues and their classmates and their teachers and the members of their communities to be engaged, to see themselves as being engaged and critically reflective in different contexts. More importantly, Nigel guides the students in recognizing how they have learned from conflict and peace and reconciliation, and invites them to continue to be reflective and to demand much from and to contribute much back to their own education, their communities, their careers, and their work throughout their life. We've done an evaluation of the 12 years of this program, and one of the most stunning reports that students make is around this comment that comes from one but could stand for many more. I learn more about myself and the social position I occupy in a single semester in Northern Ireland than I have in 3 years of college. And often students write this, the sense of knowing what's at stake in the learning. This is the first time I have ever wanted a paper to be good because of what I am writing about, not because of the grade I have earned. So students have learned about what's at stake in the day-to-day groundwork of building a just society, really by their internships. So I wanted to spend just the last few minutes talking about the internships. The site supervisors and the internships allow students to see the ways in which people on the ground, practitioners, ordinary citizens from all walks of life, political administrators, political actors, civil society is moving from a divided to a shared society, and that is a huge value to them. Ordinarily, student work placements in Northern Ireland or around the world, and certainly in the US, are technical, or they're reserved for graduate students who are pre-professional, being matched for a career choice. HECUA internships are very different, and those of you in the room that are internship supervisors can speak to this. The internship organizations guide the students in understanding the crucial interplay between theory and practice, the way the world ought to work and the way things ought to work and what we find in the world, and how to mediate that and how to imagine other solutions we haven't even seen yet. This is, of course, the deepest kind of learning. It's learning for our whole lives. So through internships and challenging curriculum, students are helped to develop skills to act effectively in the world and achieve a common purpose with others. These are skills that last a lifetime and that apply to every kind of work. So think about the students coming from all those disciplines and going out and doing many, many different kinds of things in their lives. And they're the very skills that our two nations need, and need them right now. Students are very clear at HECUA. We always talk about the students, undergraduates being the future. The students will claim, this is our present. This is the present for us, not just something that will happen in the future. So we need that. We need their zeal, their passion, the way in which they found how their skills can meet the needs of the world. We need them right today in America, and certainly as well in Northern Ireland, and I think around the world. So one of the most valuable lessons the Northern Ireland program has taught HECUA is how to prepare students for lives of engagement and responsibility, to not turn away from the big questions and the challenges that face us. Students must not only experience and interpret the world, they must take up a place within it as citizens, as agents for positive social change, and as whole persons. And the new Northern Ireland program is a place where students can grapple with and make sense of complexity, because justice looks very different on the ground than when you read about it, right? And they also learn how to cross boundaries and divisions. Again, I'm remembering standing on the bridge this morning and thinking about the importance of both what separates us, rivers and oceans, and the bridge, and how to work with humility and integrity and to build a more robust and democratic communities and world. Thank you for helping create this present and this future, and I'm delighted to be here among all of you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My name's Brandon Hamber. I'm the director of INCORE, and I wanted to just say a few words to you about the program and about INCORE's role in the program, but probably more importantly to also thank our colleagues at UNESCO for all the work that has already taken place. For us, this is a really nice thing to be able to pick up on. A project that's been running for, I think, 12 years, with a distinguished history, with a great set of people working on it. It was a sort of easy decision for us to get involved with the HECUA program. So it's a real pleasure for me to be directing INCORE this time and to have the HECUA program based with us. It's part of the process of us reorientating some of the focus at the university in terms of consolidating some of our peace and conflict work here on the Magee campus So this event really is something which is both backward-looking and forward-looking. So it's backward-looking in the sense of us thanking our colleagues at UNESCO for all the work that they've done and for all the colleagues at HECUA. But it's also forward-looking in the sense of this is a new phase for the program. Because it's based at INCORE, we'll probably bring a slightly different focus to it, as Jenny's already alluded to. The program's going to run in 2 semesters. So we have big plans for moving it forward. So it's a backward-looking process, but also very much a forward-looking process. A number of the people who need to be thanked for delivering this program, for getting it to where it is, have already been mentioned. But particularly Alan Smith, as the director of the UNESCO Centre, as a lot of his vision has been driving what we've been so lucky to inherit. Lorraine has been mentioned, Derek Wilson, Roisin McAvoy, all people who've helped create this program, and we're really thankful for that, and for the students who are sort of scattered about. I was trying to catch your eye, but for the students, they are lucky enough to be able to have this history behind the program and to be able to build on it, and of course from Jenny's side as well. And most importantly, well, I should never say that in a speech like this, but really importantly, Nigel Glenny, the program director, who puts a huge amount of energy into this program, and is the type of educator that most of us wish we really were. And so we're really appreciative of that, the amount of attention he gives to the program. And just his level of detail and engagements with the students when they're here, it's really profound in the way that he engages with people, and I'm sure you've all experienced that and have benefited greatly from it. So for me, it was absolutely fantastic that Nigel was moving with the program to INCORE, and over the first semester, I think that's already started to bear fruit. I also just want to thank Jenny. I've only, well, it's actually a year now and a little bit longer since we've been talking about the program, and it's been great to connect with HECUA and to connect with Jenny. So as much as I've said, we were delighted to inherit the program. Obviously, when an opportunity like this is presented to you, you're always also a little bit circumspect about what's going on here, if one is honest. But when I met Jenny for the first time, it was pretty clear to me that this was an organization that's incredibly genuine in their commitment to social justice, to democracy, to change. And for me, that was the selling point. And so it's about an honest, embedded commitment that I think makes this program really, really different. And Jenny embodies that. And so it's been great just working with you so far, and I really look forward to that going on. So thank you. And of course, the students, I haven't got to know most of you so well this time, and hopefully as the cohorts develop, that will develop. But from what I hear, it's been a good experience, and we're going to hear more of that from you. So we look forward to that. Probably what people don't know is we're live streaming this event. I have no idea if anybody's on the other end of this camera. But I'm hoping some of your families and others and those who support you to get here, because it's not an easy endeavor, are sitting somewhere behind that camera. So I wanted to say hi to them if they're there. Otherwise, I just look stupid. And just to thank them for their commitment to you and the investment that goes into creating people who make social change. And that's a huge thing. So I just wanted to also thank yourselves, but your families and the people who support you as well. And very importantly, the community partners. Part of what we did when we reorientated the program is that we have consciously based it within Derry. And the idea within that is to build a connection between the university and community partners. And I know that nobody is naive enough in this room to expect that those relationships are always that easy. But we are committed to that. And our intention with the program was to base it in Derry and to work with community groups in Derry. And we think the first cohort's been positive in that sense. But I know there's a massive investment of time for all of the community groups in doing this. And so there has to be a return for yourselves in tough environments, whether it's about funding or the challenges of the conflict issues that you have to deal with. So we appreciate that. And we hope that's really going to develop and deepen over a period of time. And we see HECUA as really key key to that. And of course, thank you, Consul Greg Burton, for coming. We'll hear a little bit more from you later, and we appreciate your time, and the Lord Mayor as well. I'm just going to conclude by saying a few quick points as to why this program is important to us, and I could go on and on and on about why it's important to us, but I'm really just going to raise three things. And the first of those is that it's an applied program. And one of the things that we like to think of ourselves as doing is not just learning about theory, but doing things which are applied and practical and real. And HECUA speaks and hits all those buttons. So it's important to us because it's applied. It's important because we have to deal with the challenges of that, of sending people out into the field, to engaging with real live human beings instead of books in the library. But that's the business that we're in. And so that's the first area that's really, really important to us. The second area is that, certainly for myself, and I probably can speak for my colleagues, peace and the work that we do is not something which happens in your head. You have to embody that within yourself. So you have to be a peace builder in the work that you do, whether that's in a small bit or in a big grand scale. And from what I can see from the HECUA program, I can see from what's already been done so far with INCORE and its history, it's really teaching people to be the peace in some senses, and that's really, really important for us. And hopefully when we hear from the students, we'll see that in action. But it's not just something that's out there, it's in you, and the program embodies that for us. And then the final part of it is that this is a critical program. It's about a critical engagement with issues of social change, democracy, peace building. And for INCORE, that's a key part of how we think about peace building. It's not something which is like an airy-fairy, we've all got to love each other and get on. It's a hard, challenging, difficult issue. And we make a tiny contribution to that, and each of us make a tiny contribution to that. But we need to engage with that in a critical way. It's not as easy as saying people need to get on, or we need to build relationships or put people in the room with each other. It's a hard, challenging process that involves social change, that involves individual change, that involves political change. And the HECUA program embodies that critical thinking. And for us, that fits with our sensibilities. And that's the third reason why this program is really important to us. So I could go on and on. I've probably said already too much, but just to reiterate all the thank yous. And just to reiterate that this is of value to us. And we know that we're building on something which a huge number of people have done a lot of work to deliver. So we have to honor that and keep that true. And we have to work with the community partners, who we're going to hear a little bit more about through the student presentations as well. So thanks to you guys as well. We really appreciate that. I'm just going to end. Recently, we hosted President Clinton here. I did see some of the HECUA students there. Some of them incredibly skilled at basically getting his security to take photographs of them with him, which I thought was, I like to take credit for the fact that Nigel had maybe taught this, or maybe it was indigenous, I'm not quite sure. But when President Clinton was here, he spoke about some of the work that INCORE did, and it's actually really interesting what, Jenny, you said about people living in the present, because that's what he finished with. So I thought I would just finish off with the words that he used about INCORE and the future, because I think it fits with what we're trying to do. He said, the work that goes on at the university symbolizes a commitment to a whole new generation of leaders. We're thrilled by all the work INCORE has done, and I hope you will do more of it, to train a new generation of leaders. And this is the important part. They are not living in the past. In other words, they are the future. And I think that that's really what this program is about for us, and where we hope to take it. So thank you to all of you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Nigel. I'm the should be more embarrassed, perhaps, person that was sitting down at the back of the room. My job is a very good one, is to welcome the students and invite them to speak to you. They're all volunteers. There's only a small group who are going to do the presentation. So what I would like to do, in the interest of our deliberative and democratic classroom, is could I ask all of the students very quickly. Just come up to the front, tell us who you are, where you're from, and where you study, because if you don't, people will think we're making this stuff up.
I'm McGill. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I study at St. Olaf College. Oh, and also where I'm placed. I was placed at the Nerve Center working with their United Histories Project.
My name is Mira Sen. I'm also from Chicago, Illinois, and I also go to St. Olaf College. We're in my art grades back home, so we branched out a lot coming here. I was placed at Headliners this semester. Headliners, if you don't know, does kind of deep outreach journalism. I had an incredible time. I got to work with some youth groups, do some print editing. It was fantastic. Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Sofia. I'm from the Twin Cities, Minnesota, and I go to St. Olaf College as well. And I was placed at Youth Action in Rhode Island, doing a lot of different things. I couldn't say one.
I'm Emma. I'm also from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I go to the University of St. Thomas, and I was placed at the Verbal Arts Center working on their Reading Rooms project.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I come also from Minnesota, believe it or not, at St. Olaf College. I was placed with the Peace and Reconciliation Group, doing a lot of research for them and grades and a lot of other stuff. They do a lot of things, so I was happy to be part of it.
I'm Aaron, and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I go to Augsburg College, and I was placed at the Junction and Towards Understanding.
My name is Megan Jeckett. I'm from Kenosha, Wisconsin, but I go to St. Olaf College in Minnesota. I was placed at the Pat Finucane Center, where I worked on the declassified government documents for the truth recovery aspect of the peace process. And it was the most inspirational time of my life.
I'm Kimberly Donahue. I'm from Duluth, Minnesota. I study at the College of St. Scholastica, and this semester I was placed at Queenie Estate Residents Association with Christopher Cooper, and it was the time of my life. Awesome.
So sorry. I'm Allie Pappy Larson. I'm from Bemidji, Minnesota, but I go to school at Augsburg College, which is in Minneapolis. I was at the Playhouse, and I was working with Theater of Witness, and it was a really wonderful, challenging experience in a lot of ways.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Nugent from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I go to school in Denison University, which is in Ohio, so no Minnesota whatsoever. And I interned at Children Crossfire.
I'm Maeve. I'm from New York City. I go to school at Colorado College, which is in Colorado Springs. And I was placed with the Rainbow Project, which works to promote the health and well-being of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in Northern Ireland, doing a ton of stuff, and it was awesome.
I'm Hugh Kennedy. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I will be graduating from St. Olaf in 1 week.
If you pass your papers, yeah.
And I was working at St. Colin Park House with Kirsten Hartbuckle sitting right there in the red. And it was a great time, great time. So I'm on the job market.
The first time I taught a semester here, I'll never forget a student coming up to me and saying, "Nigel, that was a tough semester." And I waited and I said, but it was completely worth it. I think that's really, really important because it is a tough semester. The focus, the context is tough, and so it should be. And we don't make any apology for that. We ask a lot of our students. I worry about that sometimes, how much we do ask of them. But the point of all of this is that it only works when students ask an awful lot more of themselves. And I think that's what you see time and time again. So I want to thank all of the students that you've just met for working really hard and for really putting a lot in to this semester. And also to acknowledge the students that have come before who have done likewise. think the point of this experience is that students come and they work hard, but the key to this is that they work alongside people, the people who are in this room, who are working tirelessly for peace in this place. So I have to thank the people that are in the room. I guess you guys really do make this experience what it is. I'm going to hand over to Megan, who's going to take you through, I think, possibly, if I don't get into too much trouble, could well be the highlight of our afternoon. I hope. All right, thank you.
Okay, here we go. So good afternoon. I will be presenting a background of our academic and internship experiences in Northern Ireland over the past 3.5 months. So what exactly have we been up to for the last 102 days? Well, we started our journey in the classroom to first understand the politics of the Northern Ireland conflict. However, we soon learned that we would ultimately leave here without that understanding, as we have become a part of something much greater than ourselves, more so than we ever imagined. As the days went on, our classroom discussions were complemented by field experiences in and outside of Derry City. The field experiences were consciously structured around interactions with representatives of both sides in order to provide us with multiple community perspectives of the conflict and current peace process. Each encounter was rooted in one-on-one dialogue and has personally resulted in a formation of a very humanitarian and empathetic understanding of the conflict and continued division. In early March, we were placed at various internships in Derry for 7 weeks. I can speak on the group's behalf in saying that our internships have been one of the most, if not the most, valuable experience of our time here. Every day was filled with lessons, direct and indirect, from both supervisors and community members alike. The information gained from each of the 3 modules provided information for continuous discussion on 3 baseline questions. The first, what are the roots of the Northern Ireland conflict? The second, who are the agents of change? And how have they contributed towards the peace process in Northern Ireland? And lastly, what are the prospects for lasting peace, and how is progress being made? It was through our 3.5 months of work in the classroom, on field trips, and at internship sites that we were able to stimulate rich intellectual discussion on numerous themes regarding Northern Ireland and the process of peace building as a whole. I've tried to come close to fully representing not only the large amount of themes we've explored over the past semester, but their variety as well. Not all themes specifically focused on the context of their relationship to Northern Ireland, but instead were presented in a way that we can bring back to our home institutions and implement in an effort to create social change. Thus, we are not only leaving this place we've come to call home with knowledge unique to the history and contemporary situation, but are instead leaving with an additional knowledge of a variety of means through which peace can be attained and, more importantly, sustained. It is with this knowledge that our young, fresh, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed minds can go out and attempt to end generational cycles of social injustice. We can choose to act through different means aimed at combating various social issues on local, national, and international levels, as it takes all kinds. Regardless of the route we take or the issue we choose, those who have participated in this Northern Ireland experience will surely implement the lessons and strategies gained during our time here. Covering such a wide variety of themes provided both a broad base and an in-depth analysis of the many elements inherent to Northern Ireland and the peace process. We have been able to take specific themes that sparked our interest and conduct our own secondhand research to actively better understand certain issues and produce independent study essays. Some themes we just finished writing about, as in they're due by midnight tonight, include the controversial history of parading, youth work, multiple deprivation, multicultural learning, storytelling and reconciliation, LGBT people, young men and mental health, racism and xenophobia, the role of Christian churches, music and peace building, history education in schools, and comparing city commemoration practices. We have also split up to form 3 groups and work together to produce a second paper due next week on a variety of different topics, including woman and gender, integrated education, and issues relating to peace walls and interface areas. As I stated earlier, we were each placed in 7-week internships throughout Derry. All of the organization placements are involved in Northern Ireland's peacebuilding process, but go about their work in different ways. Our work activities and tasks were somewhat overlapping with one another because of our position as an intern. However, regardless of the similarities, we're exposed to and influenced by the unique missions and work of our internship placements, and brought our newfound perspectives of the conflict and peace process to class seminar discussions. It was in this way that we were able to see the value of multiple community perspectives, as we are not only representatives of our various home institutions, but have also come to grow to act as a voice of our internship organizations as well. So now I'm going to pass the mic on to Mira and Marin, who will provide student reflections on our experience.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here today. As Megan said, Marin and I will now be sharing some very personal reflections on our time spent here in Northern Ireland. Before I begin, I will admit I'm a bit nervous and I have a tendency to speak very quickly, so if you can't understand what I'm saying, just throw a shoe at me and I'll slow down, hopefully. Anyway, I came to this program as a political science major, which meant, as I hope you can guess, that I was very interested in the political aspects of conflict. I saw conflict being all about the numbers of lives lost, the amount of money spent, the amount of buildings destroyed, and of course the consequences on the political leadership of the countries involved. Coming here and listening to people's stories, standing feet away from the spot where somebody lost their life 40 years ago, all contributed to a very new understanding of conflict for me. Suddenly this conflict and others were no longer about numbers, but about human beings. Suddenly I was reading coverage of the crisis in Ukraine from a very different standpoint. I wasn't watching the news and thinking, okay, that's 62 dead. I was thinking, that's 62 lives cut far too short. 62 families who have lost people that they loved. I cannot speak to whether or not this was the same thing that the rest of the group experienced. I'm speaking about it because before coming to Northern Ireland, I, for whatever reason, did not humanize this conflict, or any conflict for that matter. I spoke about this to our group earlier on in the term, and at the time I said that I didn't think that I was necessarily a horrible person, so I wasn't sure why I wasn't thinking about the conflict in these terms before. And I've recently realized that for me, thinking about conflict in terms of numbers and political outcomes was far more simple than thinking about it in terms of pain and loss. It was easier to push the hard things away. But once I was here, learning about this place, I couldn't very well push those things away anymore. I think that it's safe to say that for most of us, our time here in Northern Ireland has been an incredible experience. In spite of that incredible experience, life has still happened. Each of us at some point had things come up, either here or back home, that were painful or uncomfortable or scary to deal with, myself included. My default, as I said, was to push those hard things away, to not think about them and to not confront them. By simply learning more about this place, I was brought to acknowledge the issues regarding conflict that I had been previously afraid to confront. So I, with some indirect coaching from Nigel and my supervisors at Headliners, made myself confront my own problems, something that I'd never really attempted before. Some of the issues that I dealt with have been resolved, and I feel better for having confronted them. Some of them have not yet been resolved, but I'm hopeful that I will eventually feel better for having confronted them. The process was and has been excruciating. It was hard. But by making myself push and think through the problems, I created room within myself to learn and grow. Nigel had us all think about confrontation and overcoming obstacles, especially in regard to our internships. Though we all enjoyed our internship experiences, we did each have personal issues to overcome while going about our work. We came here with some acknowledgement of the realities of social justice work. I think quite a few of us, however, had lingering visions of grandeur when it came to what our role in social justice work would be. I think that we all told ourselves that we knew it wouldn't be easy, but I'm not sure how well we internalized it. I think that it took experiencing the internship to actually bring that around. just as it was hard for me to confront my own problems, I know that it was hard for everyone to confront newly realized realities of social justice work. But I also know that my peers have grown from their confrontations in the same way that I grew from mine. We have all, for better or worse, learned something about the path, or lack thereof, that our futures will take. Once again, it has been hard for us all, excruciating, painful, and scary. But speaking for myself, I wouldn't change it for anything. Final bit of proof of my growth while here. Everything that I've just said to you was, as of last night, not what I was planning on saying to you. I had a completely different speech written out, but I realized that once again, I was focusing on the easy things, the observable and the impersonal things that any student coming here to Northern Ireland to study the conflict would say. And I decided that if I was to truly articulate to you all what this program, what our supervisors, and what our program director have done for us, I needed to talk about the hard things. How do I make this go? That's how. You may have seen this picture behind me at the end of the slideshow that Nigel was playing earlier. I like this picture a lot, partly because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan and they did shooting right there at the Dark Hedges. But I mainly like it because this picture was taken in our first week here. When it was taken, we didn't know anything about this place or each other, and we certainly knew far less about ourselves. But over the past 3.5 months, I've grown to love both this island and the people that you met before very, very much. I realize the cliched nature of what I'm about to say, but I suppose that cliches are cliches because there is some validity to them. The people in this picture, they may look like the people that you just met, perhaps with some more clothes on. But not a single one of them is the same person that they were when that picture was taken. Not even a little bit. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming here today and listening to all of us. Once again, I'm Maren McGill, and I'm from St. Olaf College, where I study history. Oh no. There we go. Throughout the past 3 months, our class has spent a considerable amount of time reflecting on Northern Ireland's past. As a student of history, this was something which came rather naturally to me. I was surprised, however, in my first few weeks in the program, at the importance placed upon examining how the past informs the present and the future in Northern Ireland. In my classes at St. Olaf College, history was something I studied from a rather detached perspective. I examined it in books and articles, rather than deeply considering the past impact on current issues and events. Living and studying in Northern Ireland has taught me the great importance of making these past to present connections, because perspectives on the past play particularly strong roles in determining present identities and situations and the possibility of a peaceful future. The words of Maya Angelou, which are displayed on the screen right next to me, were a source of reflection for me throughout my time working with the Nerve Center's Teaching Divided Histories project. The project encourages the incorporation of creative technologies and history lessons in secondary schools to better engage students in the study of contentious pasts, to challenge harmful myths and sectarian stereotypes. Dealing with contentious events and issues and the variety of perspectives on them in schools can be difficult and indeed takes great courage, as Maya Angelou suggests. But the fact that such issues are being discussed in Northern Ireland is very encouraging. I would love to see more projects like Teaching Divided Histories in classrooms in the United States. The less than admirable and rather divisive parts of America's past were seldom discussed in my history classrooms prior to university. While it is certainly easier to sometimes just forget difficult pasts, historical amnesia can prove more destructive than addressing the past head-on. For if we move to forget, the past has a habit of repeating itself. This semester has reminded me that the histories we are taught by our families, communities, and schools are not merely a collection of dates and facts, but are rather a reflection of different perspectives and experiences of the past. While it can be difficult to have our own views and stories of the past challenged, it is essential to reconciliation processes that all perspectives are listened to and acknowledged. In the beginning of the program, our class was privileged to be spoken to by Maureen Hetherington of the Junction. Maureen taught us the power of sharing our stories and listening to others' stories. Such storytelling activities can be an incredibly effective means by which to encourage empathy and understanding between previously divided individuals and groups. In order for the sharing of stories and perspectives to be meaningful and effective, all participants have to be willing to truly listen to one another. Coming into this semester, I believed I was a good listener. However, the past 3 months have taught me that I have a lot more to learn. Rather than listening to another's perspective with the intent of finding ways to disprove it or bolster my own view, this semester has taught me that in peace-building processes, we must be willing to listen to others' narratives with true respect and empathy. When I first arrived in Northern Ireland, I wanted the conflict to fit in with my preconceived, rather cookie-cutter and formulaic analysis. When it inevitably did not, I was rather taken aback at first. The past conflict and present tensions were incredibly complicated, and it soon became apparent that my cookie-cutter analysis was going to be severely bent out of shape. This semester has taught me that it is impossible to have a formula for conflict resolution. The processes of peace and reconciliation are messy and nuanced because they involve human beings. We must remember to respect the human element of conflict when analyzing. I'm going to leave Northern Ireland next Saturday, perhaps more confused about the conflict and its resolution than when I arrived, which is not a cause for despair. For in the words of many our class has spoken with this semester, if you leave Northern Ireland thinking you understand everything, you don't understand anything. The recognition that formulas are not particularly useful, unless you're in a science or math-based class or career, has had an impact on how I see my life developing and changing over the next few years. Coming into this semester, I had a formula for my future. Graduate college, go to law school, become a lawyer, and hopefully get a job which would help me pay off student loans. But the last few months have taught me that such formulas can cause one to become rather boxed in, essentially limiting creativity and the exploration of newfound aspirations. As a result of my participation in the HECUA program, my plans for the future have become slightly more muddled. Speaking with awe-inspiring community workers, academics, and activists this semester has shown me that I can be a part of positive social change in a myriad of ways which might not fit in with my current formula. While I will certainly continue to plan for the future, once a planner, always a planner, this experience has taught me the great importance of being open to change and new opportunities. While formulas were definitely necessary in my high school chemistry class, a formula for my life is something that I can do without. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Sofia, and up here with me is Catherine and Erin. We're going to do something a little bit different. We've created our reflection of our experiences in the form of a song. We wanted to convey that our experience of this place is extremely valuable to learning about social change and peace building, because without experiencing it, peace building looks really simple. While sometimes it does stem from simple acts like listening to someone's story over a cup of tea, it is deceivingly difficult to listen to those stories. And because we associate emotions, people, places, experiences with our learning, we will be able to continue to learn from it more so than if we had read or just heard about it. The lyrics are on a piece of paper under your chair if you like to follow along. And I suppose that we hope you enjoy it and can find something meaningful in it as well.
Well, thank you. That's fantastic. I'm not quite sure what else to say. I think I should sing a song. Also, as the director of INCORE, I now feel really bad because the US consul is due to speak next, and now I've probably set you up for failure. So I apologize in advance, but thank you. It's really fantastic, both the reflections and the music. And I think it really just points to what you have taken out of it, and that you would take the time to reflect in that way. I think it's just fantastic.
And a lot of the iconic folks that I've come to work with and to appreciate and respect and try and further their legacy here have been here to speak in the Great Hall, I think, in most cases. Bill Clinton, 2003. Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton, 2004. And again, later in 2004. Senator John Kerry, now Secretary of State, in 2006. Ambassador Mitchell Reese in 2006. And that list just goes on. And it's not an accident. It seems to me that this city has a lot to teach. I think that though today, as you've been learning, the United States and our relationships across Northern Ireland are thought of as mainly often in association with our help for peace building here. And certainly the Clinton administration did a huge amount for that, and it's been my pleasure to meet Bill Clinton and tell him I'm thanked every day for what he did here. And the same with George Mitchell. I had the opportunity to meet him as well and pass on that message. But President Obama was here last June for the G8 summit, but he also spoke in Belfast at the Waterfront Hall. His was the 7th visit of a sitting U.S. president to Northern Ireland since 1995. There are a lot of countries that haven't had any visits of a U.S. president since 1995, which again speaks to the relationship between our peoples and the importance of Northern Ireland in the United States, in a sense, and our desire to help. I think President Obama, I'm not going to quote it, but I'll paraphrase. He promised continuing U.S. political support for Northern Ireland as it continues to heal its past divisions and move toward a shared future for all of its people. So I suppose for me, that's why I'm so pleased to be here today, to recognize that you are just the latest and perhaps greatest, but certainly great musicians and speakers, but the latest in a long line of people who have built the relationships across the Atlantic that are so important. And it's my great privilege to be here and help share that with you all today. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure you can imagine how I feel at this stage, coming last at the end of the day. And I think Nigel was absolutely right when he said that, and I know my colleagues will forgive me, that I think people who stole the show today were our students, Megan, Mary, Marion, Sofia, Catherine, Erin. Those are all the names I can remember, but all the rest of them who came up and presented themselves. You're a real credit to your own country, to the HECUA programme, and to yourselves and to the colleges from which you've come, because you've done an absolutely tremendous job. And you actually brought me right back through the presentations to when I became engaged with the programme and had the privilege indeed of working with Jenny at the very start of the programme when I was head of the School of Education at the University of Ulster. And at the end of the year I was invited to the student presentations, and they were mind-blowing, just like we heard today. And it's just tremendous to see where you have come from in terms of your thinking and where you've got to today, but also recognising that you've a lot more to learn. And indeed, in the words of Brandon and President Clinton, and I don't remember exactly the words, but you certainly are a generation of future leaders.
And I appreciate the value, because we not only hear from the students who come here, they make us reflect on our practice. They bring their thoughts, their new ideas, their youth, and I know that we're not all that old, but we're fairly young people, but they bring a freshness and they live in the present. Unfortunately, with too many conflicts, we dwell and live in the past. So we're thrown back on ourselves to think about how do we work for the present, And how do we look at history? And that's always, when we look at dealing with the past, we have to look to the future and help to deal with the present, and always with an eye in the past. How do we do things differently, and how do we move forward? So whenever you have young people coming here, it's really refreshing for us to hear that we must be building the peace. And it's not just about Northern Ireland or the island of Ireland, it's about the world. We live in a global village, and it's really important that all of the stuff that we learn, and certainly the learning that has been brought to me from all of the students that have visited us in the past, is that we have to keep working, and it has to be an interdisciplinary approach. It can't be left to one discipline or another. It has to be that academic rigor. It has to be about the philosophical, the historical, the theological, all of the different ways in which we can approach dealing with our past, dealing with peace building, and hopefully moving into the future. And I have said before that sometimes maybe it is too late for us. We have so much baggage that we carry with us. And it is down, unfortunately, to a newer generation. As I said before, we learn so much from the young people who come here, and we can share and reflect in our practice as well. But I just want to say again, thank you for closing that really crucial gap. See, whenever you go through your university and you learn the theory, and then you get the opportunity to practice it at the grassroots, that's when it really matters. It really, really matters. You can't have one without the other. So thank you again. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, and may it long continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Terry Wilson. I have the pleasure of being Nigel's supervisor. It wasn't always going to be so pleasurable for Nigel, but it was a pleasure. It was Nigel's supervisor building on the rain and Washington's work. I also chaired the program board in Cornwall, and I know the program was last for 2 days. For me, the importance of HECUA always was that they weren't warriors. They didn't come to look at us, how terrible a life we led. They came to learn with us, identify with us, and become, in a sense, critical friends of people here on the organisation. I think that was very important. With a lot of people who pass through, these folks pay their money, stay for a long while, got engaged. I think the second thing was that it was really engaged learning. When I look at a lot of history of the HECUA graduates, so many of them really got more deeply involved in civil society back in America. So again, it wasn't just being warriors, it was about learning about their society as well as our society. And that's the sort of learning I just wish we could offer more to local Irish young people, that we really get these chances to learn with and from one another, and then we apply it to civil society. I think finally for me, and I've been in Ballycastle today, travelled to Belfast, and I really only come as far as today on such a long day, because of Nigel. I think he's done a great job. And I think he's perhaps even still underrated even because of what's here. But to me, I hope you've learned as we learned. In America, I've just been there a few months ago, and here we still are in love with communities of sacrifice. Communities that we will carve out for ourselves, we will exclude others, we will threaten others, we'll make others fearful. Or we can build communities of community. Communities that are shared, communities that are fair, communities of institutions that really work for the common good and for all people. I hope you've learned something about how we might build communities of communion here, because I'm a little tired of the communities of sacrifice that we feel that all of us, myself included, have been in love with for so long and for too long. So I'm glad that you've come. I'm glad you open us up to ourselves and to other possibilities, but I hope you see lots of possibilities when you go home as well.
Thank you very much to Maureen and to Derek. And again, thank you all very much indeed for coming. My final comment really is just that to reassure you that the programme is in really safe hands under the directorship of Professor Paul Carmichael as Dean of Social Sciences, and indeed Professor Brandon Hamber, both of whom I've worked with for a long period of time. But thank you very much. It's really important, and it's really wonderful to have you here this afternoon sharing this moment or these moments with us, so we really appreciate you coming. And Brandon just wants to have a quick word with you before we finish, but thank you again.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Anne, and thank you everybody for coming. I won't go through all individuals again. There is a little bit of the food, I think, left behind, and some wine if you do want to linger a little bit longer, which might be a name for a song. Just before we end, I just wanted to just make a formal thanks to Jenny Kaiser. I've already spoken a little bit about you, but thank you very much for coming out for this, and obviously the connection with the program, and for your words, and also to US Consul Burton, thank you very much as well. And it's really interesting to hear some of those connections. I wasn't aware of all of them, so thank you very much for that, and taking the time also, both of you out of busy schedules. I have some small little gifts for you, which looks like we actually planned this, but we didn't. This is a copy of a book edited by John Hume, Tom Fraser, and Leonie Murray. Tom is over here and with us, one of the editors of the book. And when President Clinton came here, he also launched this book. And this book is called Peacemaking in the 21st Century. And it's copies of a lot of the speeches that you mentioned, of Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, many others. And it's also signed by John Hume. So as a token of our thanks, we just wanted to present that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And